Bienvenidos and welcome, my little Christmas elves. So, this video is going to be a quick tutorial on how to create a scarf in Vroid. And before I get into that, I'm going to quickly kind of follow up from my last video if you're coming from my ugly Christmas sweater video. What I was talking about with adding the same layers to your body. So you just create a color layer and your pattern layer just like you did with the sweater. Just wanted to touch on that real quick before we got into this, just for clarification. So here I'm going to create a new hair group, a new freehand group, and I'm just going to name it Christmas Scarf just so I know what layer it is and I don't mix it up with the hair. And I'm going to bring that down to about chest level. You might want to go a little lower or maybe a little higher depending on how big you want your scarf, what kind of design you're going to do, and if you're going to do a lot of layers to it. But I'm just going to do 2 layers in this instance. In this first example, it's really just going to be kind of a super quick way to get this done. And it's going to be best if you are like streaming or your model isn't going to be seen from all directions. It's going to look great from the front and even from the sides, but this instance is going to leave the back a little open, and of course you could go in and adjust this later, but that's not what I'm reviewing today. So I like to have it flat and straight, and you want to make this hair texture kind of as straight as you can. Don't mirror it for this one. You could, but I'm trying to just keep this as minimal as possible. So I like to draw it thin and then expand the width once I've got it drawn. That just helps me kind of get a gauge on how straight my lines are. And then once I make it wider, then I start making the adjustments to the back of the neck and around the shoulders. And depending on how many adjustment points you have or how long you want it to be, you can adjust it up and down or forward and back, or how, whatever's going to be best for your situation. Again, I'm just trying to keep this one really simple, really basic, just so you kind of get a grasp of what you're doing here. And of course, depending on how you want your scarf to lay, higher on the neck or lower on the chest, you can obviously make those adjustments in and out, up and down. So whatever's going to be best for your situation. The nice thing about this is, again, we're just using the hair, so I'm not adding a new texture, I'm not going to Photoshop to manipulate anything. I'm really just making a big cylindrical hair and just kind of tweaking it a little bit. So that is the nice thing about this method, as well as the other methods I'm going to show you. I don't do anything extra special, they're just hair. I'm going to go ahead and create another group, and the reason I'm going to do that is because I want to kind of mirror the same kind of thing on the inside, and what that's going to do is kind of create the illusion that the scarf's going around a couple of times. It almost looks like an infinity scarf, I guess. So it's just going to be a big circle around the neck, and then if you wanted to add a tail, coming off the back or the front, you could do that later, and I'm going to briefly touch on that at the end of the video, but for right now I'm just trying to get the basics, like I said, out there so you understand the process. So I'm doing the same kind of thing. I like to start with the thin one, and then I increase the width as I'm going along, and then I just kind of make my little adjustments to make it look better. And once again, this one is really designed for if no one's going to see the back of your model. It's going to look fine from the front, and from the sides I think it looks great, but obviously there's going to be the gaps in the back. So that's essentially it for this one. Obviously make tweaks and adjustments that you're going to need to based on what you're doing, but I think that's going to get you started. So on this next one, I am going to kind of do a little different. It's going to be a similar process, but I'm going to mirror this one. And again, starting small with kind of the ribbon look, and then I can adjust it. Still have the mirroring on, so both of these hair textures come back around. And right now it does just kind of look like a ribbon. I'm going to make a couple minor tweaks here. So that's a pretty good starting point. So again, same idea, except I'm doing a mirror this time, and I'm going to use a similar process. I'm going to create a couple of loops that go all the way around. And then once I have those, then I'm going to mess with the width. Just in this instance, I kind of like doing the double to keep it looking consistent all the way across. And again, this one is going to be better for like a 360 view of the model, so you can kind of do the back and loop it all the way around, and it's going to look pretty consistent all the way around. So I've got kind of the inside and the back all done, and so again I'm just using a duplicate, and I'm going to pull up the front, and pretty good. Probably don't want to use that color scheme, but I'll fix that in a minute. So just make some final tweaks here just to really make it look circular. And something like this is going to be better for, again, a 360 view. It could be good if you're going to use this same method to make like a collar. If you were going to do maybe like a suit of armor and you wanted to make a collar, you could use the same kind of technique as this. I definitely want to change that color though. I was thinking red would be good for Christmas, but it's just too, I don't know, too different. So I'll probably do a darker, yeah, let's do like a dark green. And definitely don't want those highlights either, so we're going to kill those highlights. You don't want your scarf to look metallic, you want it to look soft. There we go. That's much better. So now I've got kind of a soft looking material out of my hair, and I think it looks pretty good. It looks festive. Again, get that 360 view, so it works from any angle. It's obviously a little more time consuming, and you know, can take a little more work depending on how you want it to look, compared to the first style, which is just 2 loops essentially. And you also have to worry about the back, you know, in this instance where you don't have to with the other one, but still think it looks pretty good. And again, it's not too time consuming. I think it's pretty good. So you obviously make it your own, adjust however you want. This tutorial is really just to get the basics out there for you to understand how to make a scarf. So like I said earlier in the video, I am going to briefly touch on kind of having a hanging bit. I didn't do it with my own model, but I did it with the model I've been making for Michi Hano, which I'm going to pull up here in just a second. But the difference between this scarf and the tail kind of scarf is you're going to need to add bones. This scarf is not going to move where this scarf is going to move depending on your model's movement. So this is just kind of overview. Obviously this one's already done, and with Michi's I just made 2 half loops. So kind of similar to the first one, except this time I kind of put the hole on the side and I covered it with this extra piece. And so this extra piece becomes the tail, and we're going to go to the bone layer, and so there you go. It doesn't go all the way up over the shoulder because the shoulder is going to kind of, you know, support it, and the flowing part's going to start kind of at the back of the shoulder. So let's put this in motion just so you can see kind of. There you go. So you can see the bones start kind of just behind the shoulder, and the whole thing's going to flow pretty seamlessly. It looks really good in my opinion. So that's just literally taking the same concept, making a line down the back, and adding bones.